We're in a very windy coastal area, and we decided to duck into this RV resort pavilion and share some tips for traveling in California.
We've traveled pretty extensively through California with our fifth wheel, and these are some of the things that we've learned along the way.
One of the first things that you're going to notice traveling through California, especially if you're towing something, is that there is a 55 mile per hour maximum speed for towing. So if you're towing a fifth wheel, or if you have a motorhome towing a car, or if you're just a car towing a trailer, or whatever it is, you're going to have to not exceed 55 miles an hour, while the rest of the traffic is going to be going 65 miles an hour at least.
Yeah, and another issue that is kind of related to speed is that a lot of the freeway on and off ramps are very tight and have very low speed limits, 20, 25 mile an hour on and off ramps, and many of them have very small approaches onto the freeways.
Yeah, and this is really chilling sometimes because when you're trying to get on the freeway and you're going 25 miles an hour and you're towing and you may not be able to get up to speed quickly, there could be cars coming down the hill in the right lane that are approaching you at 65 plus miles an hour. So you're going to have to really pay attention to getting on and off the freeways. What I tend to do immediately when I'm merging onto the freeway is, as soon as I can, I turn on my blinker to signal everybody, I'm coming out into this lane, so please get over.
Yeah.
And a lot of people kind of get the drift. I've only, I guess, probably 2 or 3 times when they either couldn't get over or didn't get over. And it's kind of hard to go from almost a stop to get up to speed to safely enter. So that's something that we noticed was a pretty significant issue when driving in California.
Another thing you'll notice traveling into California are the agricultural inspection stations. Now, these are usually not right at the border, but rather a few miles in, and they are inspecting for fruit, plants, firewood, trying to keep pests and things from the crops in California. So they will often ask you if you have any fruit or plants or firewood, and if so, where did you purchase it? If you're just coming in from the neighboring state, a lot of times it's not an issue. A lot of times they won't even stop you, they'll just flag you through, but just be aware that that is something that you're going to come across in California, are those inspection stations.
Yeah, watch for them because, like Susan said, they're not typically right at the border. They could be several miles down the road, so you're going to have to pull over. It's kind of like pulling you over into a way station almost. You just kind of pull off the side of the road and go through there. And we've had a couple stops and they've asked questions. We've never been searched or anything like that. I've had them ask what's in the bags. Do you have firewood in the big plastic bags or whatever that are in the truck or something like that? But typically they just flag you right through, so it's not much of a problem. There is another type of inspection that goes on in some of the southern routes that we've been on in California. There could be stations where they stop you to look into your vehicle and ask where you're traveling and stuff, and I think it's just because you're close to an international border, so it's just kind of a formality that they do down there.
Yeah, so if you haven't been to California, just be aware that there will be inspection stations once you get into the state.
So there are a lot of interstates going through California. There's all kinds of routes north and south and east and west, and we've taken pretty much every one of them many times over. And down in the south, Interstate 8, that's a very steep route through the desert, so there's going to be a lot of water pullouts. Now, this may be something that you might not have seen in other areas of the country, but these are for you to pull over and put water in your radiator or something like that if you get in some type of trouble. There's also telephones all over the place.
Emergency phones.
Emergency phones. They're all over out there. And for good reason. There's nothing else out there but those phones and that water. So that route could be a little tricky if you're having problems with your transmission or your engine or overheating, any of those kinds of things. You might want to get those really up to par before you head through that region. Let's see, we've gone the north and south routes. We've done 101, we've done I-5, we've done 99. We've done 395 and then 95 down in the southeast area, and then across we've done what, 40 and 15 comes in diagonally, and there's 80 and 80 across the top over to from like Reno to Sacramento type of thing. And I think, what would you say was your favorite? I know.
Well, we haven't really had any issues as far as having the RV on any of those routes. I think definitely 395, although it was the one that we were most concerned about because of a number of passes, but it was actually our favorite route, I think.
We had a lot of fun
really
on that
beautiful one. And we had no issues, so.
Yeah, we've done several videos about our 395 route trip. We'll put some links in the description for you. Another route that I also like is 101.
Yeah.
I just like all that coastal travel and everything, and you get to go through the redwoods and all kinds of fun stuff like that, so I like that.
The road conditions in California seem to vary quite a bit. Along Interstate 5, which is a very, very busy route, a lot of trucks, the right lane is tore up pretty much all the time. It can be very difficult in an RV
very
trying
bumpy.
to stay in the right lane, which you're trying to do because you're trying to maintain that 55-mile-an-hour speed, but it's so bumpy, I mean, you really feel like the earthquake is going on at some times. So the road conditions can definitely be an issue. That's kind of one of the other reasons that we really like 395 is because the road conditions on that route are amazing. Just really nice.
Yeah, some of the other things to consider when traveling for road conditions is wind.
Yeah.
You'll notice, like especially along Highway or Interstate 8, across, what is that, 58 that goes across to Tehachapi?
Yeah.
You'll see these wind turbines all over the place, and they're there for a reason. And then also going through like the, the Palm Springs area, all those kind of desert hot springs area, a lot of wind turbines down there, and for good reason. And so wind is a big issue. You can get the NOAA app and keep up on what the wind conditions are doing into the area that you're going into. That's a big consideration. Another thing is like there's been torrential downpours and stuff like that and other things that have eroded hillsides, so there could be a lot of landslides. So we've seen that on 101, stuff like that. There could be that type of thing where roads have been washed out and rerouted. That's an issue. And see, what else is there?
Another issue that we ran into was wildfires.
Yeah.
If you're traveling in the summertime, wildfires are pretty common in California, and we got stuck because the road was closed due to a wildfire.
Yeah, they just basically put barriers right out in the highway there and shut it down, and for good reason. And when that wind's whipping like that and carrying fire around, it's not a good thing. So. A lot of these things can happen in a lot of places, but California is a big state and there's a lot going on, and you're bound to experience some of these road conditions there for sure.
Yeah, and they are really varied.
It's inevitable when you're traveling in California that you're going to get off of the major route at some point. Maybe it's to go to an RV park or a campground or to some attraction. And when you do, it's going to be important to know the route that you're on is going to accommodate your vehicle, specifically the height of your vehicle. We've been down roads where it will say something like a 13-foot overpass or something like that. So it can be very dangerous, and we've run into 2 or 3 of these as we got off of major interstates in California. So you'll want to make sure that you check to be sure that you're not going to get into that kind of thing.
Yeah, a lot of times they're signed ahead of time. They have to put signs if it's below, 16 feet or something like that to let you know what it is. And sometimes it'll say, clearance ahead 14'1" or something, and if you're over that, you have to turn off and take a different route. But definitely be aware of that. A lot of the on and off ramps, you'll go under underpasses that are quite low.
Yeah, we kind of happened into them a couple times, and fortunately we were able to make it. I think we're 13.5 or
Yeah.
somewhere around there.
Yeah,
I
so
got it down
knowing
to-
the height of your rig
Yeah,
is,
it's
is
very important.
Yeah.
We've had people behind us on walkie-talkie tell us that you could basically put a tennis ball on top of our air conditioning cover, which is the highest point, and just about sweep through under some of those things. But they can be a little bit scary, but we've made it just fine, and we found that all the measurements are accurate enough for us to get under without any problem. But definitely want to make sure when you're going into towns that you check to be sure that you're not going to get in under some of those underpasses like that, because a lot of the RV, or not RV, but GPS apps will take you down routes for sports cars.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're using an app that's going to function properly. I'm sure many people use RV GPSs and things like that. Another thing that you can do that Susan and I have done many times is call ahead to the RV park or resort or campground and talk to somebody who's savvy there that has an RV. I usually ask them, what do you drive?
Yeah.
and they say something that's pretty large, and I'd say, what route would you recommend coming in? And there's been a few times that they've said, do not take the route
the GPS.
that the GPS says. And so we've went another route, and then once we had left our fifth wheel there, then we took that other route in the truck and found out exactly why we should have taken that route. So yeah, these low overpasses can be problematic, and bridges too.
Yeah.
We've had some of those that were really low.
Something else you run into in California are toll roads. There are some toll roads in Orange County, down in Southern California, and then anytime you're going into the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland, there's several bridges there, and many of them are tolled. We found an app called Toll Guru that you can use. It'll tell you the price. You can click on if you're driving an RV or whatever you're driving and give you the correct amount for the toll. You can even pay online and have it taken care of in advance. So if you're going to be traveling in those areas, you might want to check that app out and make sure that you're aware of that. If
Right,
you don't
definitely.
have, a lot of them don't take cash, so you could run into an issue there. So make sure that you know what the cost is and how they collect that fee, because it's definitely changing. It used to be, you just go up and pay the toll booth your change, and now everything is on your phone app or digital or online, or you have
Right.
to have a pass or some kind of thing like
Yeah,
that.
that one time we went over a toll bridge, we thought it was only going to be a certain amount of money, but then we found out, no, you got to pay for your vehicle and the one you're towing, and a higher rate, and we didn't have the exact money. What was it? We needed cash, and we
Yeah,
had a
you
debit,
had
and
to
they
have
didn't want.
cash, and it was $20, and the website said all vehicles were $6.
Yeah,
so
so-
that's what we had in
Yeah.
cash, and so in that case, they let you through, but they, record your license plate number, and they'll
You get a
send you
bill
a
in the
bill.
mail. Yeah, there's been other routes that we've been able to take to get around that.
Yeah.
We try to do that within reason.
Yeah.
And typically it's okay for us to opt for a route to skirt around a city, maybe big city like San Francisco or something, because we don't want to get into all that traffic. So taking a different route tends to be scenic and saves, maybe it's a wash on the money because you
Yeah,
got a little
'cause you
bit
might
more
have to
fuel you're
drive
paying
farther.
for, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, so just be aware that there are toll roads and bridges in California.
Something that's likely true of traveling in other states, but definitely in California. If you come out of Oregon into California, Nevada into California, Arizona into California, wherever you're coming from into California, you're going to notice at least a $1 per gallon price increase in fuel.
Yeah, fuel is very, very high in California. In fact, when we recently traveled into California from Arizona, we actually went to our campsite, unhooked the truck, and backtracked 14 miles into Arizona to fuel up because it was a $2 a gallon price difference.
Yeah, and in that case, the miles going there and back without towing were not in
Yeah,
any way near
near
the extra.
what we'd have paid.
Yeah, $2 a gallon for filling up. So We'll use apps in the web and things like that to just try to get a picture of what it's going to be like before we go into a particular state. And we always do it with California, but we always know it's going to be at least $1 more. There are some little Easter eggs, if you will, here and there hidden that you can dig up and get a better price. But typically it's going to cost quite a bit more, so you want to factor that into your budget for sure.
The major routes through California seem to have adequate rest areas or rest stops, and most of them have been pretty easy off and on with the RV. Now, their rules for overnight stays at the rest area is 8 hours in a 24-hour period. So I guess, you know, if you're really tired and have nowhere else to stop, you could stop and, you know, get some sleep there as long as you're out within the 8-hour time frame.
Yeah, they seem to be sprinkled about pretty well on the major routes through California. There's some states that we've traveled across that was very hard to get to find a rest area, and if we did find them, a lot of times they were closed. I think one state we went across, almost every one of them was closed, but definitely something that's easy to do on the California routes that we found. There's rest areas.
Seem to have rest areas readily available, and you can, you know, usually find them pretty easy on your GPS if you're, you know, going to look. And they'll have signs that say, you know, next rest area so many miles, so you know that if you're not quite ready to stop, that maybe there's another one coming up in 50 miles or something like that. So,
if you're used to driving through other states with guns strapped all over you and everything, that's not the way they roll in California. So you're going to have to take care of your firearms a little bit differently perhaps in California. You're going to want to look up the laws for yourself. I'm just sharing with you what I think it is. It's easy to do a web search and get to the legal information for the state of California. But typically they don't want you to have a firearm within reach, or a handgun within reach of the driver. It has to be locked up, and it cannot be locked in like a utility or glove box. It has to be like in the trunk of the vehicle, or in many cases that would be somewhere like maybe in a safe in the RV, or in locked up in the fifth wheel in a little gun safe or something like that. They basically want it not right within reach, and they should be unloaded.
Yes, always.
They should be unloaded in California when you're traveling, and I believe that you can have shotguns and rifles a little bit more near you, but they cannot be loaded. And so, but again, you're going to want to check with the laws with California, not with me. But I just bring it up because that's something that people in RV, in the RV lifestyle might not be aware of if they're driving through maybe some place like Arizona where the gun laws aren't so strict, and then you cross over into California, you're in a different state and there's different rules. We hope that something that we shared in this video will make your trip through California more enjoyable. Comment and let us know if there are any ideas or tips that you have about traveling in California, or maybe something that we said has helped you.
And don't forget to share, subscribe, and click on that little notification bell.
Thanks for watching.